So welcome to Unleash Learning TV. You know, it's the place that helps you boost student engagement and unlock consistent and effective teaching for your entire school. Now in this episode, we want to share with you a little trick to help you avoid burnout and stay at your best. This is really, really important. Now to do that, we've got Michelle Etheve here, and she has a Master's of Science in Coaching Psychology. She's the co-founder of the Change Lab, and she specializes in enabling people to create purposeful, strengths-based change and to thrive as they create and learn and experiment together. Now, to help encourage you to put into action what you're about to learn in this episode, we're going to give someone in our audience a free copy of my book, Unleash Learning. So check that out at the end. We'll show you how to get it. And we hope that encourages you to put what you're about to learn into action. So let's get started. So Michelle, welcome. Welcome. We're really glad that you're here. Welcome. You know, I want to talk to you because you're an expert in strengths-based approaches and talking about strengths. And we were talking earlier about how as educators, as leaders, we can burn out because we're doing so much work. So can you help us understand how you describe strengths? Like, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, strengths can be a lot of different things. At its simplest, it's what you're good at and what feels good, what you enjoy. But this can come into what's the kind of things you put into play day to day and when you're at your best. This can be a lot of different things. It can be your interests. It can be, the places that your attention is naturally drawn. It can be your resources, so your knowledge, your experience, your skills that you've been practicing over time. It can be your talents. We've got some really interesting things if you look at the Gallup, strengths test and Clifton Strengths Finder, where you actually learn a bit about the talents that you have, so the things that you are naturally good at when it comes to your work. But my favourite thing to lean into, and I think it's particularly good, especially since we're talking to teachers, is your character strengths. And that's your values in action. They're the virtues that we value as humans and how they come to play in the work that we do, how we like to be in the world. We know we're putting our strengths to use, our character strengths, when we are on fire with what we're doing. We're feeling alive, we're feeling good, things are just flowing. And one of my top strengths is curiosity. So it's when I'm asking lots of questions, I'm having a lot of fun, learning about something. One of my others is creativity. So when I'm lost in a project, that's one for me. Humour's one of my top ones, so I'm getting a chance to watch something funny or have a bit of a play with people. That's kind of lighting me up and sparking. So your strengths are at work and at play when you're really feeling energized, engaged. You just lose yourself in it and you're absorbed. That's a really sure sign that, that's what's going on. You've got a character strength at work.
I think one of the things, as you described, is what yours are and what light you up, right?
Yeah.
So the question I have about this is why, let me say this differently, how do teachers on a daily basis, how do we use our strengths? What does that look like if we're using them, we're leaders or in a classroom? What would that look like if we're using them?
Very naturally, because our strengths are the way we're wired best to perform. It's hardwired into us. It's the things that we love to do. They'll be quite natural in the way that you approach things generally. They're the things that you reach for first. I reach for my curiosity first in any situation. But not to say that people are actually very good at spotting them. So that's one thing to note, especially for teachers who are maybe new to it. It's easy to say, they're these strengths, you should know them. But people often don't know what their strengths are. In fact, studies suggest that 2/3 of people don't really know, have a good sense of what their strengths are or how they play into their day-to-day lives. But if teachers step back and have a look at how they approach things or even how their colleagues approach things, I learn a lot about my strengths and others' strengths by just watching what other people do. Yeah. You'll see them come to play. So say, for example, with teachers, you might find that if there was a challenging situation with a student or a parent or a teacher, someone you're having a conversation with and they're bringing a problem to you and you're unpacking it, you might see curiosity at play because that person leans into asking lots of questions. Or you might see creativity at play because the first thing that person is trying to do is come up with lots of different ways we could be doing things. Or maybe they're inviting that person to step back and see the big picture because we've got that strength of perspective at play. Or maybe I'm just getting hard and fast at explaining to you, this is what's going on, this is the truth of, this is what's working, this is not what's not, because I'm high on the strength of honesty. And that's what's coming into play. So how teachers put it into work will be quite unique to them. It's about finding that space where it works just right for you. When you start learning about your strengths and experimenting with them, trying to use them in conscious and intentional ways, it's about finding that what's often called the Goldilocks point. So it's just right. So just enough, Not too much, not too little, but this sweet spot of like, this is lighting me up, this feels good, and it's working for the situation, the context, and what I'm trying to achieve here.
I love the Goldilocks.
Yeah. Goldilocks, really it's a good one.
It's a good one. I'm
It's
use
really
that.
good. Yeah, use that one. Yeah.
Well, it brings to the next question as we talked earlier.
Yeah.
We were talking about, this episode's really about how to avoid burnout.
Yeah.
And so I think strengths is a great way
Yeah.
to talk about that. So we talk about Susie has introduced to us overplaying, underplaying strengths, but you said dialing up, dialing down.
Yep.
So can you talk about what that means?
Yeah. So when it comes, so we've talked about overplay and underplay, and listen to Susie. Susie's a great person to listen to, especially on this topic. So just to explain again for anyone who maybe didn't hear that, but we can overplay our strengths and underplay them. So when we're underplaying them, it tends to be when we're missing those opportunities to really bring them to the table, and that might be, we don't feel safe to, I've been in environments where I don't feel safe to be curious. I don't feel safe to ask questions, or I can't put my creativity to use because I can't share ideas without them knowing they'll be shot down. So these are spaces where we're underusing things that are very natural to us. They're the way that we love to be. That's how we're trying to be it's how we are our most authentic, when our strengths are at play. But if we're in a context, in an environment where it's not really safe, then we might underplay them. Overplaying them, on the other hand, is something that people aren't quite as familiar with, and it's so interesting because we can overplay our strengths when we get so excited and so into them and we're in flow and we're just loving them, and then we look up and we go, hold on, this isn't really working out as well as I thought it would. And that tends to be, in my case with curiosity, when I'm getting nosy because I've asked too many questions, or when I'm being too creative and I've come up with so many different experiments that I haven't got anything done. Or my colleagues will all attest to how often I overplay my humour, so especially in situations where I probably shouldn't. So these are times where we get so engaged by it, we overplay it, and the reality is in those moments, rather than letting them run wild, it's going, what can I just dial up and dial down here? So what we find with teachers tend to quite commonly overplay kindness and overplay love. It is one of the things that we see a really strong pattern of, and there is a genuine thing called generosity burnout out there. Dr. Adam Grant's done some really interesting work in that space of looking at when we're givers and we just keep giving so much and so much that there's really not a lot left for ourselves. It's being a selfless giver. It's not being a self-protective giver. So someone who can go, what do I need? And I think when it comes to strengths, the best way to think about that is, what can I dial up here and what can I dial down to find that Goldilocks point of, where am I putting my kindness to use? Where am I putting my love? And when I say love, I mean my sense of wanting to build positive relationships and give to those relationships. Where can I find that point where there's still something left for me? The other thing to think about, because I know when we ask to dial down our love and kindness, it feels off. Like, we're kind people, we're good people. It feels wrong to say, don't do so much of that. But really, I think what the trick is here is to dial it up when it comes to applying kindness and love to yourself. So how can we redirect that sense of wanting to be kind, wanting to give, wanting to make a difference to others back to ourselves, so that we can build up the resources, the strengths, the energy to be able to keep doing the good work that we're doing in the world.
Everything you described to me is, I've got to have a language for it, and then have self-awareness, and then there's choice involved with that. So
definitely.
I don't have to burn out if I kind of know how I'm making some decisions, but there's also a context for that, which is really powerful.
And I think what's important is knowing that, it's about active, curious, and conscious experimentation. I think we try things and we think we should get them right, we should get them wrong, we get our fixed mindset in there, and then we get very frustrated with ourselves when they don't work. But really, it's about noticing what's going on, what's at play for me, for others, and I'm going to keep experimenting with finding that just right point.
Well, I'm using the strength of flexibility because there's a fly flying around the studio. So we're going to be flexible and curious. So we're just about out of time. But
in this beautiful new space,
this is a nice space.
It's gorgeous. I love it.
Thank you. So the last one I really want to ask, and we're just about out of time, but how, as educators and leaders, can we use our strengths to bring out the best in ourselves? And I think you've alluded to that, but just to finalize this, how can we be thinking about that? How can we do that?
Step one, learn about your strengths. We're not naturally very good at spotting the strengths of ourselves and others. We really, we've got a very natural negativity bias. We're not good at seeing them. We're very good at noticing what's not working well, what's not working right, and where things are missing, but not what's working well and what are the strengths. So getting, one, a language around that, two, getting doing the assessment. It's a great way to add language, just like you said, William. And also, then getting really good at experimenting. So maybe it's about growing your strengths through creating a habit and like giving it a try, doing a bit of experimenting that way, or pairing up with somebody else and going, all right, I'm going to help you with yours, you can help me with mine. Let's buddy up and support each other with our strengths. But I think one of the things that makes the biggest difference is doing this with others and having a language of strengths together.
Yeah.
And to me, it's strength spotting. Spotting other people's strengths is life-changing. It changes your relationships. It changes your ability to, balance out that negativity bias, to be able to really see what's working well for others, and spending time feeding that back to others. What the thing about character strengths is it's about an authentic expression of self. So if you take the time to go, you know what, William, I really love, you really approach that really creatively. I really, you've got a real strength of creativity, and I just really saw it at play there. So, thanks for bringing that to the work we just did. Whatever it might be, that is a way to be seen. I think we've talked before about you mentioning how some people lean out of getting positive feedback. And I think a lot of the time is because, that was a good job or well done. They're a bit hollow. There's not a lot to it. But
That's
bringing
true.
genuine language to it, like that was really creative, or wow, you've bring your curiosity in there, or wow, my God, if anyone's got perseverance and can exercise their perseverance, it's you in this task, in this week. So well done for bringing that to the table.
Yeah.
And being able to spot them and share them is a great way to connect, help people be seen by others, and also be able to have space to have the more difficult conversations where you can turn to someone and go, like I do with my dear friend and colleague, Michelle Etheve, who's a co-founder of the Change Lab with me, who occasionally overplays her zest. So she gets so excited, has so much energy for the things that we want to do together, that she'll run off at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and myself and the rest of the team will be like, oh, hold on a second, dial down on the zest shell. So it's a lot easier then for my colleagues to then turn around and go, serious time, Michelle, play down the humour, let's get on and get this done, because it's about talking about slightly dialing down a strength for something that is genuinely, the best of me. Not, okay, this is one of your weaknesses. And
it's also
you can map those things to your weaknesses.
Well, you also have common language and have those
Exactly.
conversations that's helping bring up the best in everybody.
Definitely.
So we're going to try something right now, and we want to encourage people knowing what their strengths are. So, as you know, the best conversations take place after the episode, and this is what we're going to do. We decided to encourage you to put into action what Michelle's talking about. We're going to get a free copy of my book to someone who does this, okay? So what's going to happen is this. We want you to first take out the VIA, fill it in, and know what your top strengths are. And then next, go to the blog and put your top strength into the comment section, and then tell us how you use that strength in your daily work as a teacher or educational leader. Someone on my team is going to find the best comment, and we will mail you a copy of my book anywhere in the world, because we want you to put this in action. So
do it.
Do it.
Do it. My God, who doesn't want to do things that help you understand yourself and when you are your most authentic? Because we don't know that.
And
so many of us don't know that.
Also, as educators, we're helping everybody else, and the reason we wanted this episode is making sure we're taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
So thank you for the work that you do.
My pleasure.
And the way you explain it and all your curiosity. And as always, thank you for the work you're doing for the world. We are cheering you on, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
High five.
Bye-bye.